everybody, welcome to the Coffee Chats and all of that series where we talk a little bit about a lot. My name is B.
I'm Z.
And this is a safe and judgment-free space where we want to be 100 with you about all our experiences. So grab your coffee or your tea or your milkshake that brings all the boys to the yard and let's get chatting.
Let's roll.
So today's topic is dun 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 dun, turning 30.
We've both done a little while ago.
Speak for yourself. This is actually my 30th year.
The 31st.
No, because I turned 30 this year.
0 is 1, so 30 is your 31st
Okay,
year.
let's not worry about the math. So how do you feel about talking about turning 30?
It's an interesting time in our lives at the moment, I think. 30 probably feels different now than it did 10 years ago.
So you're saying for us, it's a little bit different turning 30 in 2021 or 2020 than it was for people in like 1995.
I think so.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think most people probably by 30s back in the days would have already had, their kids. They're all in high school now, whereas we're kind of just getting started with all that.
So when you were younger, like when you were in primary school or high school, say, when you were in school, how did you envision yourself at 30?
That's a good question. I don't think I'm that far off. I think, being with someone, having a nice house, starting a family.
Did you think that you would do some of these things before 30 though?
Look, I've never been a big lifetime planner. I've always kind of taken things as they come. So probably when I was younger, I didn't think about it as much as I probably should have. And always kind of just gone with things as they come.
Do you reckon should have? I mean, I spent pretty much all my high school years and like my early 20s thinking about the future and planning for 30 and blah blah blah. But I feel like your approach, like now I'm a little bit more chilled out than I was back then, and I feel like that approach is a lot better.
Yeah, look, I think everyone's got their own process. I mean, you did it your way, I did it my way, and here we are both in the same situation next to each other.
Cha-ching!
So, whatever works for you.
So basically what I did is I googled assumptions about turning 30,
Okay.
and I thought we could go through them one by one, have a little chat about them and
See if we can bust some myths.
see if we can, exactly right. So the first one is people in their 30s are old. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't feel old. Do you feel old?
Look, I don't feel young as I used to. I know anytime...
I mean, you're not 21, but like, come on, you don't feel like a grandpa.
Look, I'm not a grandpa, you're right. So it's probably not as bad as they make it out to be. But I'm definitely at the stage where after a training session or a basketball game, I generally need at least a day or two before I can go again. The body's recovery time is slowed down a little bit on that front.
I don't think that was like you hit 30, boom, suddenly like you're struggling with fitness.
I mean, look, there's definitely people in their 40s, 50s who are way fitter than I am and don't see that as a
Not
problem.
even that, like you had a lot of injuries and things like that in your 20s.
I had a couple little ones, yeah, you're right.
You struggled in your 20s as well. Do you think that is what makes you feel old?
That definitely makes me feel old. Recovery time, it's tough.
I don't know. I think it just maybe means that you're a little bit unfit
We
rather
used
than old.
to we'd have basketball camps where, we like 3-4 days over a weekend, and you train from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You have 3 sessions at night. You sleep on the basketball court. Now, if I don't sleep in my bed, if I sleep anywhere else, I wake up the next day, grabbing my back. I'm like, oh, Steve, my back. Definitely couldn't do that stuff anymore.
But I think there's a little bit of lifestyle involved as well. I mean, you got to think when we were in our early 20s, we did not do much at all. So, and I was constantly going to the gym and constantly running. It was a lot easier to do all that stuff because you were constantly doing that and you had time to do it.
Whereas now we're just running after the children or the child.
Well, just everything. You got work, and then you've got your social life, you've got parenting, you've got organize your life admin, you've got to pay your taxes, you got to do this, you got to, like, there's just
We got to do our
always...
taxes too.
There's
Good
just-
reminder. Do your taxes.
There's just like so much more that you have to do.
So what, when we were 21, you go out, you drink a bottle of vodka, you wake up the next morning, you do it again. Now I have 2 ciders. I wake up the next morning, don't touch another one for at least a week.
It's really funny because when I was in high school, I always remember thinking about people that are 30 and thinking like, oh, like they have their shit together, like this is life, like 30, you know, you've got your family, you've got your career, you've got everything. And do you feel like you've turned 30 but you feel the opposite of that? You feel like, wow, I don't have my shit together, like everything is in shambles?
This year is definitely in shambles. The last 2 years with pandemic living is pretty crazy. We're a bit lucky where we are. We don't get it as bad in Canberra. I don't know. I feel pretty well put together. I'm pretty content with where we are and what we have. And
do you feel like you should be more progressed? Because I think this is the issue, and this is where a lot of the assumptions come from. Is like, do you feel like you need to be more progressed in your career, or you need to be more progressed in your health or your fitness?
I don't know. I think it's more about your.
Do you feel like you need to be more organised because you're 30? Because everyone's like, you're 30, you know, you got to adult about everything.
Yeah, look, I think you naturally start doing that stuff as you get older. You start thinking about things a little bit differently, probably prioritising things that, you know, weren't as important, 10 years ago. No, I guess I feel pretty content with where we are. And, you know, if I look back 10 years ago and I said this is what I'd be doing when I was, 31, probably wouldn't be too mad about myself.
Good. A life
How about
surprises you. I'm really happy with my life and where I am at the moment, but it's not at all what I had pictured it. And like I said, when I was in my early 20s, I would have, like, my 30s were planned, and it's nothing like that.
What did your 30 plan look like?
Back then, to
Where
be honest,
do you feel you've...
I thought I would be single living in New York.
single
Writing
living
for
in
a
New
publishing
York.
house, or like working for a publishing house. It was always a dream of mine. Like, that was the thing. Like, my career, I wanted to go into publishing, but obviously this was also like when social media was first sort of starting out and people didn't think it would be what it is today. And now I work in social media. Like, I would never have thought that I would work in social media back when I first got my Facebook page.
It's true.
I'm happy where I am at 30, but I do sometimes feel like I should be more progressed and I should be more organised and I should have my shit together a lot more. Especially as a new mum, I just feel like, I don't know, I always feel like I'm trying to catch up to something.
Yeah,
like a moving target.
I think your expectations are always... Not your expectations are higher. Yeah, I don't even know how to put it. I think you just demand, a very high standard for yourself.
We look so awkward just sitting like this. Alright, can I move on to the second assumption?
Let's move on.
I guess we sort of touched on this, but the second one is people in their 30s have to settle down. I mean, we technically have settled down. We're not married or anything like that, but yeah, we've got a little family, we've got a little house. But I don't think necessarily that people in their 30s have to settle down. I think life looks different for different people.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the rolling theme of tonight's proceedings is...
Tonight's proceedings?
Everyone is...
Why do you sound so formal?
Everyone is going to be doing things in their own pace, like it's...
Like, honestly, if I talk to this guy without the camera, it would just be like, what's up, what's up? Yeah,
let the people know I went to uni.
And now he's so formal. He's like... But then it's like, what does settle down mean? Like, I get...
Living by yourself with 6 cats and 2 dogs and a couple of birds. If that's your jam.
Cats and birds. Alright, the third assumption is people in their 30s are rushing to have children or already made up their mind not to.
Yeah, well, I think this probably ties in with what I was saying at the start. The age to have children is slowly starting to push back a little bit further. I definitely had a lot of friends Freds. I have a lot of Freds, but I have some friends too who, you know, going through high school after their first year or two, you know, started having children, and now they're on 3 and 4, and you know, they started doing things a lot younger, and everyone does things at their own pace. You know, we found, you know, we didn't really rush to children. You know, we didn't really plan when we would have them, or this year or that year, and you know, it was just kind of when the time felt right.
One thing that really annoys me about this assumption is always that having children or not having children is black or white. Like, it's either you will have children or you won't. Like, as if like you've made up your mind. Like, some people may not plan at all. Like, if you have kids, great. If not, it doesn't matter.
Well, look, I don't think children are a barometer of happiness. You know, I've definitely met people in my life who haven't had kids, and you know, they spend their weekends traveling the world, and you know, they're in their 40s and 50s, and they've got a bunch of savings behind them, and you know, they're very happy and content. And you know, I know people as well who are like, you know, you know, their children are their life and joy. Without them, they couldn't see themselves living in another world. So,
how do we change this? Like, it's black or white. It's either you really want children or you don't want children. Like, there's no grey area. Like, how do we change that assumption?
Look, I'm a firm believer in not so much changing the assumptions of other people, but changing the way you value other people's opinions. You know, if you feel that, you know, you're not ready to have children, like, you shouldn't feel like you have to do it to please other people. You know, you do things at your own pace.
But it's a little bit different for women, because it's like the biological the biological clock. It's like once you reach 30, you have to decide whether you want children or not. You have to think about whether you want to freeze your eggs if you want to have them later in life. Because like by 35, that's it. You know, you're on struggle street.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
look, it does get obviously harder with age, but at the same time, technology has developed like crazy now. You know, we see people having kids later and later and later, and you know, if you look after yourself, you can have kids at any stage. Not any stage, but you know, you can again just do what feels comfortable for you. Like, you shouldn't feel rushed into having kids because you feel you need to, or somebody else had kids.
Yeah, but what if you have like parents or I don't know, someone in your life that's like you're with your significant other, and they're constantly like, when are you having children? You've reached 30 now. Are you having children? And like, you're not decided, like you're unsure whether you will or you won't. Like, how do you go about that? Like, every time you see
I think we've both kind of came from that background. You know, we both have parents who wanted grandkids. You know, I was probably a little bit luckier than you in the sense that I've got an older brother and he had his kids first. So my parents, you know, had their craving satisfied with his two beautiful little boys. But
I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah, like, it's not easy, you know, if you've got people pressuring you, especially if it's, you know, parents or someone, you know, whose values, you know, opinions you value. But again, you know, you do things that you feel comfortable in. You know, if the people around you, you know, love you and value you, they'll understand that. And I think you just got to, you know, be clear with their communications and, you know, let people know if somebody's upsetting you, talk to them and let them know, hey, look, you know, we're not ready, and have that conversation with them. You know, again, if they love you, if it's your family, friends.
I don't think I've ever had that conversation with my parents. I think the conversation with my parents, it wasn't even a conversation. It was just me snapping back at them.
Well,
Stop asking me.
I think we just moved.
we just moved to a different territory. Bye. And I think, like, to flip that as well, it should be okay for people to change their mind, because I know with me, I wasn't a big kids person. Like, I happily would have gone through life without having children. But now that I have my son...
She wants her own starting five.
I literally
She wants Kobe, like, Shaq, LeBron.
I love being a mum, and like, I would love to have at least 3. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'd love to have a few kids.
Yeah.
And
you know, I think sometimes people got to be careful as well. You know, we don't really know what's going on in people's lives, and you know, you might have children yourself, and you're talking to a friend who, you know, hasn't got children with his partner, and you're telling them how great it is to have kids, and you know, for all you know, they've been trying for the last 5 years and, you know, can't get pregnant. So you know, we don't always know exactly.
But I think you don't need to walk on eggshells. Like, if people tell you openly, like, you know, we're trying and it's not happening, then fair enough, don't. But I don't think that you should always hold back and be politically correct.
No, and I think, like I said before, like you need to be open and communicate with your friends and family. If people love you, they'll understand.
The one thing that I do not like, it's like the whole being oversensitive about everything, and it's like, well, these are my experiences. I've had my son. I love being a mum. I would happily be a stay-at-home mum. Whereas me 5 years ago, no way. I couldn't have thought of anything worse.
And again, it is. I think it's, you know, you don't walk on eggshells, but it is how you communicate. You know, I can say, you know, having a child is great for me, and I'm very happy. As opposed to saying, you know, telling someone, you know, you're going to be much happier if you're going to be, you know, I can share my experience. You know, and that's okay. But
all right, let's move on to number 4. Your body
serious.
deteriorates after 30.
Oh hell yeah, we went through that. Knees, ankles. Oh, it's probably, like you said, it's probably all the injuries and everything slowly catching up. But yeah, there's definitely a difference. I think once you hit, you know, your late 20s, early 30s, the body definitely starts slowing down, recovery, and everything gets a lot harder, which is natural. You know, your body's, you know, producing less, you know, testosterone for the guys, and it's just harder. Everything's a little bit slower.
Number 5. People in their 30s go out to bars, clubs every night. I don't know who these people
Seriously.
are, but they ain't living here.
No. It's like 8 p.m. and I feel like Cinderella and my pumpkin's about to turn.
Can I share a story?
I guess so.
When I was about, I don't know, 19, 20, we went out to this club in the Cross, because we used to go to King's Cross all the time, and it was so much fun. And we went to this like bar / club, whatever it was, and we were just partying it up, and there was this older lady, and we assumed she was in her 30s. She was just dancing and drinking and like being with everyone. I think she was there by herself, but she just like made friends with all these people. And I remember thinking,
she probably had a babysitter for that night.
I remember thinking, like, I love the clubbing life, I love the partying life. At that time I did, and I remember thinking, like, I'm going to continue this through to my 30s. I want to be that woman in my 30s that's always going to bars and clubs and partying with the youngsters. Now I couldn't think of anything worse.
God, no.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a boogie, but I want to also be in bed at 9:30 with my tea.
I'm always sharing stories, you know, when we were around that same age, you know, and I was lifeguarding, start work at 4 a.m, and we'd go out, you know, hit up the city. You know, we head out at like 9 or 10 p.m, which is generally when I need to be home by now. Like, it's too late. And that's when we go out. Anyway, on the way to the city, I'll drop my work clothes off at work, party through the night, and then go straight to work, then go home, close it there, get changed, do your 10-hour shift, go home, sleep for 3-4 hours, do it again the next night. Whereas, yeah, now, like I said, 2-3 drinks, and I feel like I need to take a couple of sick days, maybe some annual leave, go see a chiro.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were all sick. We had a cold, just like a head cold, but we were all out for like 4 days. Whereas before, I'd have a head cold, maybe it would last 24 hours. Anyway, moral to the story is, we, as 30-year-olds, are not bars or clubs.
Definitely not. Though, if I had to make a choice, I would definitely be bar or like pub over club any time.
I mean, we do still go out, but we very rarely go to clubs. I think
the last time I'd be like, I can't hear you, it's so loud. DJ, turn it down a little bit.
I think, like, I still like to go to Monkey Bar every now and again, but we
do
hit bars.
Like I'm saying, I like bars. Bars are good. You know, you can
pre-baby,
you can chill, you can have a drink. The clubbing life.
Pre-baby. And when we used to live in Belconnen, we always used to go down to the Lighty and just chill, have some grub.
The Fight House.
Yes, so we do hit up pubs and stuff anyway.
But we're generally home by 9 p.m.
you're at the height of your career and know exactly what you're going to do with your life at 30.
I don't think I'll know that when I'm 50 or 60. I think anytime you kind of get somewhere and you reach your goal, you generally have the next one. What's next? I don't think we ever really peak at anything. Look at athletes, look at anyone. You work to achieve one thing and then you're going, okay, how can I get even better? That's why world records get broken and everyone's always striving.
I guess, yeah, for athletes it's a little bit different because they do retire quite early. I mean, it depends on the sport, obviously.
But even if like a business person, you start off somewhere and you're a worker, then you work in HR, and then you become a manager, and then you become the CEO, and you realize, man, this is a tiny company. Okay, now I want to be, work in a bigger place. So you go to a much bigger company, and you start down a little bit, and you work your way up again, and you get to the big one. You're like, oh man, okay, now I want to run my own place. And
yeah, I remember when I was at uni, you always had mature age students that were in their 30s or 40s that were changing their career altogether.
yeah.
I don't think I agree. I don't think you're ever at the height of your career.
And until you've actually experienced a few different things, it's impossible to know what you love or what you want to do. It's trial and error. You do something, you like it. Okay, cool. A lot of times you're going to do something and you don't like it, and then you need to do something else. Or you might like parts of a job. You find something that has more of that in it.
And again, like, it's different for women because if you have children in your 20s, like, that sets you back. Or if you have children in your early 30s, that sets you back because you take time off to have the child, obviously. So, anyway, no, don't agree with that one. Next one, people in their 30s don't look as hot as they did in their 20s. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm fine today.
I think when we get older, we start appreciating people's inner beauty.
Yeah. I mean, I do get the odd wrinkle here and there, but...
What was the question again? They're not as good looking in
as hot as they were in their 20s. I mean, it's different for me. I've had a child, so my body is completely transformed. I was a little skinny girl when I was in my 20s.
Anything worse than a 20-year-old. God.
What do you mean? Anything worse than a 20-year-old? No, not you looking at 20-year-olds, because that's just creepy.
That's what I'm saying.
I meant like you. Think of some of your friends. They're not as hot now in their 30s as they were in their 20s.
Well, look, I'm just a silver fox. Like great wine, we just get better with age.
I don't know. I think it depends on the person.
It depends how you look after yourself, as long as you look after your body.
I think genetics will trump that. It really depends on your... Because you could look after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You could look after yourself till the cows come home, but if you're going to turn grey, because your dad turned grey at 29, then you're going to turn grey at 29.
Then you look up my mates at Schwarzkopf and find yourself a little touch-up.
Number 8. People in their 30s are completely serious and not fun anymore. I mean, what's your definition of fun?
I'm nowhere near serious enough to be...
Oh, 100%. So, I was thinking the other day, I was like, I'm so mature, like, I have to act, not I'm mature, but I have to act mature now that I'm 30, and like, you're an adult, not even 30, but like, you're like 20s, you're an adult, you gotta, act super mature because you've got a mortgage, and you've got bills to pay, and you've got to follow your career, and this, that, you have children, rah, rah. But then I just realised I'm just as immature as I was when I was 21.
Yeah. You just learn to turn it off and on a little bit wiser.
Well,
time and place.
And that's why it took me so long to start Lunch with B, because I was always like, oh, what are people going to think? They're going to think I'm so immature, like I should act my age. But to be honest, I am immature. I'm just immature now with a mortgage. Like, there are serious people out there, obviously. And if
serious people in their 20s.
No, my sister has always been a lot more serious than me. Like, she's always taken life a lot more seriously. But that's just part of her personality. Whereas I'm all for jokes and pranks and laughing shit off. You have your life pretty much figured out at 30. No, I got nothing figured out. Oh wait, that's the last one.
I think we're well on track. I don't know if you have your life figured out. I think we're both, like I said, I'm very happy with my life. You know, we go to a job that I like, and I'm surrounding myself with people that I like. Got a beautiful fiance, got a beautiful child, got a beautiful little doggo.
Who's your
Still playing
beautiful
my
fiance?
sports.
Excuse me.
I'll introduce you one day. You know, what was the question again? It's
You have it all figured out.
yeah, is it all figured out? Nothing's ever all figured out, but pretty happy with what we got here. A little.
And I guess this
Life
is
we
again like the moving target where people are like, oh, I'll be happy and satisfied once I lose 5 kilos. I'll be happy and satisfied once I get this promotion. I'll be happy and satisfied once X, Y, and Z. It's like you're never happy in the
I
moment.
think it's really hard to figure out what makes you happy, and I think that's the biggest thing. You know,
I
a lot
know
of
what makes me happy.
I'm not saying you specifically. I mean you, the people in general. But
You, the people.
I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You were saying you, the people,
What was I saying about
have
the
it
people?
figured out.
What was the question?
You'll have it all figured out by 30.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's right. You know. Oh no, I lost it again.
So basically what we're
I'm
saying
gonna let
is
her take over.
you'll never really, well, I don't know, maybe you have it all figured out and
Oh, this
you
is where I was at. Okay, you go.
handcuffing
You
to
finish first.
No, you before you lose
Okay.
it.
You know, I think a lot of the times, you know, when we're talking about what makes us happy is, you know, we do things that we think will make us happy because of the way other people will react to this. You know, I saw a video the other day, and it was, you know, a guy in the crowd asked someone, you know, BMW driver goes, you know, why do you buy a BMW? And it's like, well, you know, do you buy it because you like the BMW or because the way you think people will see you in a BMW or a Mercedes, you know? So, you know, knowing what makes you happy. You know, we recently went on a family holiday down to Byron Bay, and we stayed at one of my mum's friends' houses, and she was beautiful little house, like, but away from the people, you know, quite minimalistic lifestyle. You know.
Basically, she lived on a massive property and it was kind of like a forest almost.
Yeah.
But this tiny little house, and it was just the most basic house.
So, you know, like, you know, my parents were like, oh man, I love this. You know, they started looking for properties like that, and I'm like, I enjoyed it for a night, but I need my Wi-Fi, I need my shops nearby, I need my Uber Eats. Like, you know, I like that city life, and you know, that isn't for me. It doesn't mean that.
It doesn't
You know,
mean that
know
it
what
won't
makes you
be.
happy, and not what you think will make you happy because of the way other people.
I mean, it's a bit of both, right? Like, if you're gonna buy a BMW because you love the way that you feel when you drive it, you know, and that makes you happy, and then you're cruising along in your BMW, and then like you stop at the lights and you see someone checking out your car, like that will make you feel good.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of people who, you know, might live outside of their means to try to live a lifestyle that, you know, they work all day to pay off for a car that they don't really care about because, you know, they like the way when they get to a work job that, you know, their workers talk about their car or...
It's exhausting, but people do love that.
Yeah,
People love that luxury lifestyle.
Yeah, you can't live
And
make
they,
other people happy. You have to make
well,
yourself happy.
for some people that makes them happy knowing that, you know, other people are envious of them, or I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that is what makes them happy.
Yeah, but I think in the long term, those people that you think are around you or things changing in your life, and you know, they're not going to be there to support you or...
And I think we need to debunk this idea of happiness as being like, oh my god, I'm smiling all the time and I have all this energy because I'm happy. Because as a mum, and we have minimum help from our family because they live quite far away, so I'm literally with my son all the time, and it's exhausting. Like, I am tired, it's overwhelming, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I'm happy every day when I'm with him.
I think that's a nice note to end on.
Well, we haven't ended yet.
Oh, was there another question?
No, so they're the assumptions,
Oh.
and we've debunked them. Okay, so I did want to ask...
Me or the people?
You.
Oh, okay.
Well, and the people as well. You can comment below and we can keep the discussion going. But if there is anything that you would do differently in your 20s now that you are 30, what would it be? Like now that you've lived through your 20s, and if you could go back, like is there something that you would change?
I guess probably, and you know, it's probably a bit of recency bias in the world that we live in now, but the fact that, you know, we might be struggling to be travelling for quite a little while.
I guess you never know.
You never know. You know, hindsight's beautiful, but, you know, looking at it now, probably would have been great to have done some more because, you know, one, we can't travel, and obviously we've got the kid now, which is, you know, a little bit going to be a bit harder to travel. Obviously we're going to want him to see the world as well, and we'll take him to places, but it would have been nice just to move around a little bit more. You know, we did a little bit, you know, we did get you to New York and Portugal, and, you know, we've done a few cruises and tropical islands, but there's just so much more to this world.
You took travelling for granted, obviously. And
Yeah,
kind of...
always it's like, oh, we'll do it later. Now we can't.
I think for me, I wouldn't stress about the little things that in the bigger picture don't really matter. I think in my 20s I tried to plan for my future so much, and that's just the way that I was raised. Just plan for my future so much that like the little things that didn't go to plan, I would just freak out and have a mental breakdown, and it just caused so much anxiety, and it was not fun. And that's the one shortfall of my 20s. And mind you, I loved my 20s. I had a good time.
Yeah, I couldn't have been more opposite than you. Very much just go as it pleases. Nothing's ever as bad as it seems.
Name one thing that sucks and one thing that is awesome about being 30. Do you want me to start? Do you want me to go first?
Okay, you go first.
Okay, so the one thing that sucks is, like I said before, like we had so much freedom with time in our 20s. I mean, you know, I worked casual jobs, you studied and you went out, like, but you managed to do everything and you still had all this energy. Whereas now, time is like currency. It's like if you get me time, oh my god, you are rich AF, right? Because it's like if you're not spending time looking after the baby, you know, you got to do your life admin, you got to do your taxes. That takes time.
We did our taxes in our 20s too. ASIO, stay away.
No, but ASIO.
I don't know, ATO. ATO.
ATO.
Everybody stay away.
Why would ACO visit us? Oh my gosh. But just like you had so much free time. And I remember my sister and I used to like binge watch shows for like 2-3 days on end. Like, and I'm like, how do I not have that time now? So I think that sort of sucks in your 30s because you have all these other things that you have to get done. You don't get as much free time. But the thing that is awesome is you can look back in your last 30 years and just like count all the achievements that you've had.
Like what?
Well, for one, finishing school. You go to school for what? Like 13, 14 years of your... Yeah. And just finishing that with a degree or even, you know, just with a certificate or whatever it is. And then there's people that, you know, have started their own businesses or have changed multiple jobs, but like you've changed multiple jobs, like that's pretty awesome. Like you've got all this different experience about working with different people in different organizations and whatnot. Traveling, even though you say you would have wanted to travel more, you still traveled, you saw the world. Like just little things that we achieved in our 20s, you can sort of sit when you're 30 and kind of been like, my 20s were awesome.
I think that's awesome is probably, I guess probably in this, maybe it's just for us in the situation that we are now in, but you know, I think we are pretty lucky that, you know, if there's something that we want, we can do it, you know, we can get it, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, parents' approval or anything like that. Is, you know, if I want to have a beer on a Wednesday night, have one.
Not if I don't let you.
Not if you don't let me. But, you know, I think there is that little bit of freedom that you get as you get a little older where, you know, we do have the luxury, you know, if we want to buy ourselves something we can. We're not living off tuna and rice, and which I did through some of my college days, or uni days I should say. Yeah, so I think it's good having that luxury to be able to do things on your own time now. One thing that sucks about being 30.
Are you like listing multiple things in your head right now?
I can't think of like, I'm like, when did it start 30? I was like, is it just a 30 thing? I guess for me it's just you know, being a sports person all my life, and you know, never a professional athlete or anything. It's definitely getting harder. The body's starting to catch up.
Your body deteriorating.
Much more aches and creaks, and you know, every time something's cracking or it's getting tough.
Guys, every time he comes back from basketball, it's, oh, I rolled my ankle. Oh, I hurt my shoulder. Oh, look at this bruise that I got. Oh, my neck. Oh, my arm. Oh, my foot.
Fragile little baby.
Every single time.
And the same thing happens in your 20. You just, it'll be fine in the
drink
morning.
it off.
Drink it off.
Okay, well, I was going to finish off with the floor is yours, and you can sort of discuss anything that you want.
You are amazing, mother. Positive about you?
It's about life in general.
I think on the theme of today, I think my biggest, I don't want to say advice to people, but you know, my view on things is always do things that make you happy. Don't worry about other people.
Easier said than done, though.
It is easier said than done, but sometimes you just got to go out and do it. And I think when you actually rip the bandit off and do things that you want to do, you know, you might upset a few people along the way, but if people really care about you, they'll stick around and do what makes you happy. Whether you know your job is not making you happy, adventure out, obviously.
Easy to say from a point of privilege, obviously. It's one thing to be like, you know, your job sucks, quit. But it's like, well, I have a mortgage and I have kids to support. I can't just quit.
But you might not just be able to quit, but you can definitely start looking at what's out there and, you know, applying for different jobs and
taking action rather than
don't just be
complaining.
content and, you know, make a change. Do something for yourself today.
Well, that's it, guys. Nothing more to say on this topic except that being 30 is awesome.
It's not as scary as they say.
No. And a lot of these, I think, were myths. I mean, there was some truth to some of them, but I think it's not scary, and all those listening who are 30 are probably screaming at us like, yes, 30 is awesome.
The dirty 30s. They're not so dirty, you just got to give them a bit of a bath.
Give them a bit of a bath.
That's it.
That's it. Thanks for chit-chatting with us, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Peace.